Hello, welcome everyone to another tier list video. I know. Ooh, spoiling a little bit. Let me just, there we go. So, first and foremost, welcome to another tier list video. This time I'm doing the hand traps post-ban list, what I think is the best, what I think is alright, what I think is don't kind of deal, right? As you can see, I'm accidentally put a second, Dominance Impulse and all that, right? We are getting this in Rage the Abyss, but I figured I'd include this because it has the same applications as Dominance Purge and all that, right? So I'm adding it in there, and along with another few hand traps and all that, of course, right? Again, this list is entirely subjective, my opinion. If you want to argue with it, go right ahead. I'm down to have a nice discussion in the comments, of course, right? Without further ado, let's reveal the top of the top because I think these ones deserve their own tiers and all that, of course. First and foremost, it's Maxi up top. It's Maxi. I'm sorry, but the way how the game is right now, where you want to have as much card advantage on board your opponent, Maxi is unfortunately up top. Right below it is Dimension Shifter, the most unfun hand trap in the game, in my honest opinion. It creates unfun game states and all that, right? If your opponent can't do anything under Shifter, they pretty much lose on the spot and all that, right? And of course, I have Maxi's distant cousins, Molcharmi Purelia and Fuwaras and all that. These two cover a part of Maxi's effect where Maxi, you just draw every time they normal special summon, right? Or, I mean, just special summon. Each of these little dudes can cover specific locations. For example, Purelia covers from the hand, and Fuwaras covers from the extra deck and all that. This one is seeing a lot more play now and all that, right, compared to Purelia, but I mean, it's still gonna get played and all that, right? And then I'm gonna go down to each of the tier lists. First and foremost, near must runs. These are hand traps. It's like you pretty much gotta play these ones, right? They're like almost required with how the meta is right now. Always good. Hey, they're always good to have and all that, right? If you're after you're done with hand traps 1 through 9, 10 to 12 right here, and all that would be just slots right in there. It will come up, right? This would be, say, 13 to 15, right? Niche has its applications, right? These will have its time in the day, right? Because of how certain decks perform and all that. You could probably see them. You could probably put it in there and all that, right? But don't expect to get too much good mileage out of them. And of course, if every other hand trap was banned, then sure, right? So I'm gonna go through each of these. This is one of the C's ones and all that, right? I think this is Retaliating C and all that, but I don't remember. It's one of the C ones and all that. I put it in there because it's like I need another like bug in this one, right? So I was just like, I might as well just put this one in there. This one looks, I don't remember what this one is. Well, I'll get to you if I remember and all that. But near must runs, we got Ash Blossom and all that. Although I do want to make note that with how recent card design is happening right now, right? Ash Blossom is losing targets and all that, right? A lot of cards nowadays are just placing or setting directly from deck and all that, right? See, Voiceless Voice with low placing all the continuous spell and traps from deck, right? And all that, right? You have Diabell Star setting the original Sinful Spoil cards and stuff like that, right? Just a lot of decks nowadays have ways to just bypass through Ash Blossom and all that, right? Meaning you would have to run another supplementary hand trap to either stop those cards and all that. And all that, but I still firmly believe that Ash Blossom is still like the hand trap to run. If you got run 3, you can only run 3, I will just run the Ash Blossom, right? Ghost Bell, I put in always good, right? A lot of decks do have a bunch of graveyard effects and stuff like that, right? Ghost Spell will come up, right, and all that. You know, Flamber's Dragon, Spear U-Bell, because it mentions U-Bell can be summoned from grave, and that would apply right there. Anytime a card would be just taken out of the graveyard, you know, Ghost Spell, always good. Bestial Magma Hut, I'm just lumping up the Bestials together in one and all that. They're always good as well. With the best deck in the format, with being probably Fiendsmith U-Bell, right? Hey, stopping, you know, banishing a key card from their graveyard's always good. I definitely like it, right? Especially if they open tracked, you know, get a lure, pitch the lure, you know, lure effect activates. You could slap down that Bestial. Lure does not get to be summoned. It's like, well, you just lost a card in your hand, buddy. Good job, right? And of course, little baby beast OG and all that, right? DD Crow. It's just a worse bestial, because at least with the bestials they have bonus effects, while DD Crow just banishes the card, right? It'll come up. I definitely think it's fine. It stops certain things from extending and all that. The card's still fine. You know, it will have its use. Gamma, always good. I probably even put near must runs, but I think because of the it being, I think, set need, I think it was semi and all that, right? You know, it's losing its little place, but Gamma's always good. It's not once per turn, so if they, you know, mistakenly ash it, you can always just fire it again and all that, right? This is Delta, I believe. This is the one that I've seen in a lot of deck lists, right? Because this one, I believe, stops spells and traps, right? Which is pretty good, you know, and all that. It still has the same effect as Gamma. Of course, it negates the activation, right? But while this is a monster effect, this is also a just a spell trap effect. And of course, you know, if your opponent is smart enough, they can just bait the Delta, right? You know, and then activate another powerful spell in their hand. You know, still good. Draw and lock board, still a great card and all that, right? Stops your opponent from comboing off, going crazy, getting a bunch of cards from the deck in the hand, right? Still excellent card. Around you, it is reciprocal and all that. So if at any point you activated, say, Bestial Magma Hut, and then draw another point, you don't get your search at the end phase and all that, because you are both under draw. Happened at my locals the other day, and the guy was very depressed after that. Phantasme, I like Phantasme. It's pretty good and all that, right? Able to just draw cards and all that, being able to just dig through what each you need. It's pretty good. Targeting protection too and all that, being able to negate any card that target is pretty good. I don't like that it discards, but it's still good, right? You know, I like it. It's still pretty good. Thankfully, it being reprinted from Raider Collection 2, still good and all that. I liked it. Altar's really good. I do like Phantasme. I definitely put it, if I can, I put it as 13 to 15 and all that. Imperm, excellent trap. Probably one of the best traps they ever printed out and all that. Could be used as a hand trap. If it's set, you can negate in a column and all that. Right. Excellent trap. I think this is number 4 to 6 and all that if you're deck building. Imperm's fantastic. I love this card a lot. Art's amazing. And all that. It's also not once per turn too, and all that, right? And it dodges stuff like Called By, right? Everyone's still running that one, Called By. Understand that, right? It sucks if it gets crossed out, but hey, you can, and all that. It's still pretty good. We have here Nibiru. I've been thinking about Nibiru a lot. With the TCG banning the generic Omni Negates, right? With a Baron, Barrel Lord Savage, and Appaloosa, right? And all, it's hard to bring out a generic Omni Negate, right? To just make sure, hey, you got Nibiru protection. You don't gotta worry about this stuff anymore, right? It's hard to find that stuff nowadays, right? And right, of course, with the best deck in the format, you know, the Fiendsmith stuff, getting you DDD Hiking Way Caesar does start Nibiru and all that, right? But if your opponent's smart about it, right, they can just find a way to stop DDD Hiking Way Caesar and tribute the whole board and all that. I think this card is pretty good because at this point, if your opponent builds a respectable board and they can't, you know, bring off something off of it, the deck was really good board breaker and all that too as well. I like it. Veiler is always good. Not once per turn. Stops by call by, but hey, you can just slap down another Veiler before it gets negated and all that. Love the card. One of the OGs and all that, right? Fantastic. No material. Hey, it's no material, right? I really would love to see no material be played on all that, right? It's just it has a lot going for it, but there's just no feasible, like, you have no good reason to actually just run no material. It's same reason with like Warning Point or Titanicide Era and all that, right? Or Spellbound, like those cards. It's like, yeah, stops your opponent from, you know, using the extra deck, but it's just at the same time, it's like, if they don't need it, they don't really need it and all that, right? Is it? Oh my god! Now I realize what this one is. I just remembered what this one is. Oh my god! This is Contact C. This one is the same. This one is a floodgates and all that, right? Preventing your opponent from fusion, synchro exceeds, or link summon and all that, right? Unless they use this card specifically and all that, right? A lot of decks, right? A lot of decks theoretically could bypass this, right? Using this at a good time and all that, right? Say if your opponent is like locked into a certain archetype, right? You can just slap this down, right? And they can't use this at all. It's just, well, it's a wrap kind of deal, right? My main concern is I think it's a level 6. We don't got Beatrice, but there is stuff like Tomi, you know, Photon Strike Bouncer, Pilgrim Reaper, right? You know, there's other 6s that not as played as well, but like, hey, it helps and all that, right? It might come up, but I kind of have to group it up with, right? I think I'll move this up. I'll talk to you in a second about you in a second. It's in the same boat with no materials that it's very, very niche and all that, right? Like every other handshake above it has much better mileage usages and stuff like that, right? And I think it could definitely probably come up. I think it can come up, but it's very, very niche. Now with Delta, I think that there's a lot of powerful spells. I think Delta might see play alongside with Gamma and all that, right? And all that, right? Because of the ban list, you know, the OSS, Bonfire, Wanted, stuff like that. I don't know, those are still powerful spells running about. Delta probably would see a little bit more play, right? Chaos Hunter, it's Chaos Hunter, prevents banishing. I mean, sure, right? Although with the new Malice deck coming out, I mean, it was a pretty good tech. Same with Lancio, right? Right? Lancio's pretty good. Ghost Mourner, I like Ghost Mourner a lot. While this only covers special summons because of new time rules, Ghost Mourner will make you take a lot of damage if at any point your opponent gets rid of the monster you targeted with Ghost Mourner and all that, right? Pretty good and all that. On all that. Especially because of the new time rules. I like it a lot. But I think I would have it under Veiler though, and Imperm, because at least with Veiler, it's not once per turn, and it stops any normal or special summon, right? Does it and all that? Well, Ghost Mourner specifically covers special summons. Same deal with Imperm. No, can't be called by, right? Imperm is also not once per turn, and stops normal special summons. Still, These two, I feel like, outclass Ghost Murder, but Ghost Murder does have that extreme toxic burn and all that, right? And all that. With the new time rules, it might win you a game and all that, right? Let's see here. Ghost Ogre's pretty good still and all that, right? Being able to hit powerful spells and traps mainly, right? And being able to just stop their effects, because if you don't know, field spells and face-up spell and traps must stay on the field to resolve whenever they activate their effects, and if at any point they get destroyed and all that, they resolve without effect and all that, right? So the U-Bell matchup's pretty good. You Ghost Ogre their field spell, Nightmare Throne, or the continuous spell, Nightmare Pain, right? Look at that. They lose out on a card and all that. Still pretty good. You know, voice matchups. Ghost Ogre the barrier, I believe, the one that adds. That's pretty good as well, right? Still good, but everything else here has much better applications compared to Ogre. I do think Ogre will come up every now and then, right? Oh, Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, you are very funny. The NAWCQ in Austin, Texas, where we see and all that, or was it the NAWCQ? It was either the NAWCQ or a YCS, where it was the Tenpai versus Ritual Beast finals, right? The Tenpai player activated Ghost Sister, and at one point they had like 27,000 life points, and the Ritual Beast player couldn't kill through it, so they were able to get another turn and all that. It was very good. Very toxic too, in the sense that if you can just get more life points and able to stall out for the round end, hey, you won. But yeah, this is Gizmek Uka. I've seen a list that had this in the main deck. It's fine, but would you really play Ghost Uka over like Ash or Imperm or Nibiru? I probably wouldn't. Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. I like this as a way, in case you're in the mirror matchup, you activate Ghost Reaper. Let's say you're on the Fiendsmith U-Bell matchup, right? You activate Ghost Reaper, reveal the Phantom of U-Bell. Hey, I'm just saying. Next up, we do got Seravis. Seravis is always going up and down the list and all that, right? It found a brand new home with Voice. I'm glad it did, right? But it's target protection, excellent. It's also summon negate in Voice, right? It's fantastic, but I don't know. This is the one that is always tricky to like where I would put it. I want to put it in a sense that it's real good in this, but it's also just real bad sometimes, because it's like I could just play something else, you know. I could always just play a Gamma over Seravis, right? The problem with the hand traps nowadays is like you're running 18 to 20 and all that, right? And it's like, do I got room for Seravis? Do I got room for a Ghost Ogre? It's just like, but it still has a very powerful protecting from targeting and all that. Skullmeister, hey, not once per turn, that's at least good, but sometimes there's not a whole lot of graveyard effects and all that to where you would warrant use a Skullmeister. Now we do have Dominus Impulse and Dominus Purge. I'll probably put you up on all that in a sec, but we'll do Dominus Impulse now. Impulse and Purge specific on all that. Right, each cover a specific thing. Dominus Purge is essentially a trap version of Ash Blossom and all that. If at any point your opponent activates an effect that would add a card from their deck to their hand, right, you can negate the activation, and if there's a trap in your graveyard, like say Imperm, you can destroy that card. However, you are locked into you cannot activate dark fire and water effects for the rest of the turn and all that. Alright, Dominus Impulse, right? If at any point your opponent activates a card effect that includes an effect that would special summon a monster, negate the effect. If there's also a trap in the graveyard, you can destroy that card. However, if at any point you activated this card from your hand, you cannot activate light, earth, and wind monsters for the rest of the duels. These lock you from the rest of the duels. If at any point you activate these two from your hand and all that, right? You got a fire effect monster in your hand, like an Ash Wasp, can activate it. At that point, that's discard fodder and all that, right? Still powerful cards. Still powerful cards. These are seeing main deck play. I really like them. There will always be good and all that, right? You know, you're running a dark deck. Hey, look at this Dominus Impulse. Don't even care about the other ones and all that, right? Don't care about light. Don't care about earth. Don't care about wind. We are all darks and all that, right? Unchained's gonna go crazy or whatever. Same with Dominus Purge and all that, right? Hey, this is theoretically Ash Blossom 4, 5, and 6 and all that, right? You know, you're playing a deck that doesn't have any darks, waters, or fires. You're good to go, right? Now, for me, these are my 3 must runs and all that, right? However, right, if I gotta include 10 to 12 and 13 to 15, I would definitely put Bestials with Magma Hut, Druid Worm, and I guess Baldrake and all that. And I'd probably put Gammas and then a Driver, right? And all that as my 1 Garnet. I think for me, these are the premier 5 that you kind of just gotta put in and all that, right? And then, like, hey, you got like 1 extra spare slot, or if you say you don't want to run Gammas, you can always run Veilers and then like run like a Ghost Mourners and all that, right? Right. For me, these are like the premier 5, like the best, the cream of the crop, the best of the best, right? Right. Now, of course, we are still talking about the elephants in the room. We do got Paralia and Furos. Furos will instantly see play. Understand that because decks go through the extra deck a lot, you're getting at most 8, 9 cards and all that, right? And all that just off of Furos, and then at that point you drop Paralia too. That's an extra card from the hands and all that too, right? If I had to could see like what's like the top 15 hand traps, this is 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 to 12, 13 to 15, and then if you want to run Gamma, you can run Gamma. If you want to run Veiler, like these 5 are probably one going to see play the most. Paralia is probably going to be extra side deck material. If you know what your opponent's on, you could probably swap out, say, the Gammas for Paralias. And look at that. Maxi 1, Maxi 2, and if you're in the OCG, Maxi 3, right? It's insane. And all that, right? It's going to get worse here in the TCG, right? Because we don't have generic negates to stop these 2 anymore. Ash Blossom has to put a lot of work in now, right, to stop these cards. And of course, there's like, you know, Crossout Designator, Call By, right? But you're not going to see the 1 Call By every single hand. And with Crossout, right, that means it also stops your, and all that, your Furos too at any point, right? It's just, even, that's stupid. Don't ignore what I just said about the Crossout, right? But still, I do think that with Rage of the Abyss, right, I do think these are like the premier ones here on all that, right? These are like the must runs. Then you gotta run these as like, hey, these are pretty good. I could sell these. And then these are the ones that are just like, it will come up. And then these are the niche ones. I do think Lancia will come up a lot more in December when we get crossover breakers, right? The Malice deck is very good. It's doing very well and all that, right? Because they banish, right? Just slap down this Lancia. Hey, there you go, right? And all that, right? Very good and all that. I do think this is what I think the best hand traps are at the current moment. But again, this is what I think. You're more than welcome to prove me wrong or agree with me down in the comments. Tell me what you think is the must run 5 hand traps and all that. I'm running Ash, Imperm, Nibiru, the Bestials, and Gamma and all that, right? Anywho, thank you all for watching, for listening to me, beat like an idiot, and I will see you guys next time.